Hello, welcome once again to another episode of the Scrumcast over at handcannononline.com, where lock and load is just around the corner, and if you see me there, I'll definitely be loaded. Terrible opener. All
I was
right,
gonna say, but hey, it's you've got another month to practice before lock and load. So
I guess so. All right, with me as usual is the rock of the podcast, Fraser Belfort, DeffHeadDice on all things social media. Welcome.
evening, folks.
And this week, our super special guest, James as the author of the Kreil World blog. Welcome.
Hey, guys. Good to be on.
Thanks for coming on, man.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, and thanks for getting up in the middle of the night, since it's ridiculously early where you are.
It is. I'm going straight back to bed after this, and then I might get another couple of hours, and then I'm back to work. It's good fun.
Dedication, I tell you.
Indeed. And he's got a sweet blog. James, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Kreil World?
So basically it all came around because the old PP forums died a death, and I suddenly decided that I wanted a way of sharing with the community. A lot of people had bad things to say about the old forums, but I thought the troll part was actually pretty good. There were some negative people, but overall I just thought it was a good, there was a lot of good stuff on there, and I thought, well, actually,
it was really good, except for just a few very disrespectful people, I felt. And it's kind of pushed me away a little bit because I spent, I don't know how long you've been playing this game, but I spent a lot of time trying to build the community, Trollbloods community via the forums, not, whether it was, write-up content that I did or just, starting the podcast itself. And I really enjoyed it. And it's a shame that it had to go away.
Yeah, definitely. And so I just thought I'm going to share some words. And honestly, I didn't expect anyone to care. I think you always feel that way when you first put out content. You're like, why would anyone care what I want to say? And it seems to have struck a chord, though. And, I get some nice response every week. And it's nice, and just great responsibility, as they say, comes with,
Oh, yeah.
power of...
I think I know the feeling. We started a small blog, about 8 years ago. You might have heard of it. All right,
that's
so
what we have to blame, huh?
Yeah, right. Dallas and I putting out quality Trollblood something like that for almost a decade now. Alrighty, so thanks again, James. Folks, go ahead and check out the Kreil World. We'll go ahead and make sure Fraser posts a link to that in the comments on YouTube and as well as our Facebook post. So
it's actually already on the Facebook page, so you can check it there.
Man. Look at you ahead of the game today. I'm really just behind is the thing that we should take away from this here because I don't look at our own Facebook very often. So,
shame,
right.
Shame.
Yeah, indeed. I know. I'm sorry, guys. If you're looking to get that quality Gorus content on the Facebook, you'll have to search elsewhere. All right, so let's go ahead and go over all of the bookkeeping for the episode, Fraser.
So Facebook, we've got a Facebook page. Keep watching it. We're posting things. I'm actually posting the photos I say I'm going to post. There's an improvement for that one. Also Twitter. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that we don't use Twitter anymore, and I figured, hey, maybe I'll post something. And so I just posted a photo of my battle wagon war wagon I've been working on. And Dave Blender pointed out, hey, I thought you gave up on Twitter. So nice to be called out for using Twitter for the first time in 4 months by a listener. So thanks for that, David. Appreciate that. I tried to sneak back in, but it's just a case of me sneaking back in there. So and that, Battle Reporter. Make sure you keep reporting your games to the Battle Reporter. We just had an update that improved. Well, okay, we still don't have an iOS app. I apologize. It's just taking longer than expected. But we have made improvements to the Safari browser support, so it doesn't look like crap in Safari anymore. So if you're an Apple user or an iPhone user, you can use that. We've also introduced... Sorry?
Or you should just download Chrome.
That too. Well, but we don't want to dictate what people use. And we've actually added some of the updated tournament results. So there's not a lot of tournaments in there yet because we're still working with the guys over at PG Swiss and Tiebreak. But if you want to see what it's going to look like, last year's WTC results are in there, and the formatting is really cool how it breaks everything down. You can see everyone's lists, everyone's results. And granted, the data is a little old now, being almost a year old, but it'll give you an idea of what's to come with the Battle Reporter. So if you're not putting your games in, you should. And say, James, I haven't talked to you about the Battle Reporter. Are you putting your games into the Battle Reporter? No pressure.
No, not at the moment. There was always a worry that I didn't want to skew it too far by obviously I want PP to think that we're struggling as a faction and maybe look at us again. So I was like, if I put my games in, they'll be like they're clearly OP. That was the main concern.
Well, I appreciate you wishing to sacrifice your own results for the Battle Report, but I have to admit, if you look at the overall, because we've been talking about this for over a year or so, we were first collecting just troll results in Mark II. So if you look at the results, troll players are actually very good at reporting their games. They're out of all the factions, they have the most games reported. So it is already skewed toward trolls. So it's I don't think you'll affect it too much. And we just added Tim Banky just gave us all of his games, so we've added all of his games since Mark II. Or since Mark III started, so I think he's beat trolls a number of times. So his beating of trolls will probably counter yours, and everything should average out.
I'll get on that. I'll definitely get on that for you.
No pressure. No pressure.
We appreciate it.
The only other update news-wise, actually, that's the end of bookkeeping. Do we want to jump into news?
Yeah, let's go to the news. So we'll be announcing the winner of the logo contest next week. As you guys have been seeing on our social media, we've been posting the submissions there, letting the fans sort of do their voting there as well, and then we're gonna go ahead and announce the new one. Maybe get it on the website, get some T-shirts made. I don't know. We'll see what we're gonna do about that.
Yeah, and I actually have some additional prize support for that contest.
Ooh, what do we got now?
One of our local players, Rob, gave me a set of the Trollblood dice. So one of our troll people are going to get a set of the nice set of those dice, which no one can read, but everyone likes. So I
can read them just fine. I love those troll dice. Come on.
Okay. So yes,
I've even got an old set of Gale Force 9 troll dice kicking around somewhere.
Ooh, fancy.
Here. I know we should give those away.
Yep, and we're giving away a Borka 1 and a Borka 2, and I think James may actually have a halfway decent Borka list he could share with us later on. So. The logo contest is going along well. The battle for breath. So I'll do this in hopefully less than 60 seconds. So we had our tournament on June 3rd down at Black Knight Games. Attendance was a little less than we expected, but we did still manage to raise in total about just over $1,300 this year. A bit of a drop from last year, but
what did we do last year? 22, 25?
We did 4,400. So it was a bit of a drop. So we're going to sort of try to regroup and try to figure out why we dropped. Like everyone who donated, thanks everyone who donated their time, their product, and came down and participated in the event. The event that for the people that showed up was a blast. We had lots of fun. Just it wasn't as big of a turnout as we had hoped. So we don't know if it was because of the time of year. So we're going to sort of go back and reassess and see what we can do.
I can tell you probably exactly why. What time was Lock and Load last year?
Right around now.
So everybody blocked out their time months ago, not knowing that Lock and Load was going to be in July instead of June. So they'd already blocked their travel time out. I have several friends who did this with very restrictive work schedules.
Interesting.
And now they spend a week and a half at home instead of at Lock and Load, or going to another con for that matter.
Oh, interesting. So I'm not sure if there was much in the time, at least around here, but we're going to take it back. And I know this podcast audience, there wasn't a huge amount of troll support. I mean, Aaron made that fantastic Trollblood logo wall plaque, which on a side note, my daughter said, "Who won the giant Fury token?" Which made me kind of proud. The fact that she realized that was a Fury token. So
that's fantastic.
So I was quite happy with that one. But so there was a bit of troll support, and it was I think it was David Cox who won a guest appearance on Trollblood. So we'll be reaching out to David to get him on to for that prize. So overall, it was lots of fun. I think we'll see what we can do to improve next year. And if people have suggestions or recommendations, let us know, because I'm kind of curious where we saw a bit of a drop. So that was a lot more than 60 seconds. So I apologize for that one. So
it's fun. It's for a good cause anyway. We can already start drumming up more excitement for Battle for Breath next year.
Exactly. And so other news. So we have the new ADR. And I think I think everyone's happy with ADR. Have you had a chance to look at that one yet, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. So just for those listening at home who haven't had a chance to look, we've got Ragnar Sky Splitter, Kalandra Truesayer, Horlick Doomshaper, Rage Adunia, Doomy 2, and then Gristle Bloodsong, Marshall the Creel, so Gristle 2. Two of these warlocks on here are my favorite in faction, being Kalandra and Gristle, because, like them fat bottom girls. And I think that there's a lot of potential here. I was discussing pre-show with James my thoughts on this and sort of the state of tier lists and where we're at on that one. The overarching question, did we win ADR? I don't know that we won ADR. But the raw versatility of 3 of these warlocks in the way that they can build lists makes this very potent for us. Kalandra being like sort of the Swiss Army knife of this list here, in or out of tier with what she wants to bring, is sort of, I think, the diamond in the rough here. There's a lot of interesting things you can do, and not many other warlocks polish a turd quite as good as she does. So there's some interesting list building options here. But since since our lovely guest James here has been so kind as to write an article, I'd like to get his opinion on the matter.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the thing. When you first look at the ADR roster, it seems like a dream come true. Like, you're a bit there going, wow, Gristle 2, obviously I've been her biggest advocate for a long time, and she's on there. And Doomy 2's doing so well over in America. Like, lots of people are playing, I think, Matt Carroll qualified at Las Vegas Open, and then at Kingdom Come for Masters twice using it. I don't know. Like, are you aware that you can't swap out free solos? Yeah.
I wasn't until we had, which is kind of an interesting rules. That's part of the steamroller ADR rules.
Under ADR in the free solos, you can't. And I was like, "What are you talking about me?" And whenever you put how you wrong, and
that's one of the, when we were first doing the vlogs, you're going to be wrong sometimes. You're going to be asked, questions about rules. And when you're a voice in the community, you got to be like, oh wow, yeah, I was totally wrong on this. And so it's interesting, though, that the community is so voracious in the pursuit of, like, the truth, I guess, as far as the rules are concerned, that you're going to have people who are, rigorously fact checking. And I bet you're going to find some interesting rules interactions that people don't necessarily think about when you start delving deeper into topics, whether it's the way that power attacks and colossals and gargantuans interact and things like that. There's some interesting nuggets to find there. So
yeah, not to take it too far off topic, but like the Kreil Stone UA, his mat's gone down to 5 from 6, and I didn't know. I've been playing him as Mat 6 for the entire edition.
He was so cool before because he was Mat 6.
Exactly, and you'd set a charge up, and there's a load of people now listening going, he's Mat 5, are you sure?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and they're looking it up. And
say a number of your opponents are probably putting a little asterisk beside your win for that one.
No, absolutely.
Charging Krillstone UA was the make or break moment in a match for you at some point.
yeah, definitely. And you're like, this is easy. This is Mat 6. I got this. And just like it's a learning experience. And I mean, getting back to the ADR though. Yeah, I like the roster. I don't know that it's a better roster than what I've got. Like, the ability to swap the Mountain King in to a Gristle list is really strong because it's more control, and she's already putting cacophonies down. The idea you can add a Deff into that, and you've got Discord. Like, you've got a lot of control there that's really good against anti-infantry.
Not only that, but I mean the knockdown pressure is like, the Mountain King just ends games that way. Like,
yeah. And she's got the assassination threat as well. Like, if you've got a Bomber, a Mountain King, and Gristle on the table, You can,
someone's dead. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, I saw someone playing Harvey, and they had like 7 shield guards or something stupid in the list, and English player called Andy Grard just literally walked up and went, "I'm going to spray you 3 times. I'm going to spray you once from the Mountain King. That's 4 double boosted sprays. It doesn't matter how many shield guards you've got. I'm just going to kill you." It's ridiculous. And it's great, but what are you sacrificing, and what are the changes going to be? You shouldn't just play ADR because it's there. Firstly, have you got the reps in? Are you going to play enough games so you understand when you want to swap stuff in, when you want to swap stuff out? Are they the right casters? And are you covering your matchups? And I think free list, you might be able to cover more than you can in 2. But I don't know.
I think it'll be interesting to see. Like, and I agree with you on the 3 list notion. Like, when you're trying to cover so many variables in ADR with a 3 list, it makes more sense. In ADR with 2 lists, I kind of feel like, so I think I do this subconsciously. Like, when I build 2 lists into a tournament, I'm thinking about every matchup, right? I'm not always thinking about whether or not I can swap things in or out. And you sort of land on an ideal, like, okay, now you have to decide if your skill as a player can play you out of a matchup that's only 50-50 or where you're slightly not favored. And that's already part of, like, just ingrained in me as a War Machine player who's been playing for, almost 10 years now. That sort of mindset is how I build lists. And the ADR, while it's good in a way, I sort of already list build around it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you bring up another interesting part there. There's an idea called decision fatigue, and the idea that the more decisions you make in a day, the worse you get at making decisions. And like it's the reason the president only has like the same suit, but he has like 10 copies of the same suit because he doesn't want to have to make a decision in the morning what suit he's wearing because it's not important. And actually, you can carry this over to War Machine all the time. I read an article a couple of months ago by Yale, the well-known Signar player who did the petition and all that stuff, and he said it's almost always right to go first in the game. And now I don't even think about going first. It doesn't matter what the terrain is, doesn't matter what the board is. I'm going first, and I don't even think about it. And I might make a wrong decision. I don't know, 1 in 15 times, 1 in 20 times, but making less decisions overall is good for you. And I think when you're doing ADR, you're going to be making more decisions, and you have to filter that in as well. And you'll start a game and you go, actually, maybe I've done this wrong, and you'll start second guessing yourself, and you'll be making more decisions overall.
Your gut, your instinct.
Yeah, and sometimes it's better just to play a worse list, but not to be second guessing what you've done and decisions you've made.
Well, it's the same. It's kind of the same adage too. Like, it's better to play a list you're comfortable with into a bad matchup than a list that you're not comfortable with that's more favorable, because you're going to play the bad matchup list better overall. And again, that might be the difference. Like, I mean, it's kind of interesting as a principle how we're still coming back to this kind of stuff as like sort of the fundamentals of how to play the game.
I'm also curious how many people are actually playing games where they can use ADR, because it's only Masters, correct? So, I mean, how many Masters events do people go on a regular basis and be able to even have the opportunity to swap these things out before they play the game?
It is not uncommon for Steamroller events run in major cities to run a Masters format rather than a Steamroller format. Almost invariably, the big tournaments that happen at like Mock Sporting House here in Washington, both of their counterparts run master style events rather than just straight steamroller, because there are so many competitive people in the area.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're the same in the UK, and I think a lot of it is that the big events are big masters events where you do like big 7-round masters, and because a lot of small local tournaments are considered prep for these big events, you want to have ADR so people can practice it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I wonder why there's the distinction. I know there was the distinction back in the day between Steamroller and Masters and whatever, but it just, I don't know why competitively there is a distinction. Why can't we just have like the one overriding format? Only Hungerford knows, clearly.
Yep, exactly.
Well, guys, have we capped off ADR? Oh, wait, what we should talk about while we're still in this little section here. So the Trencher CID dropped today. Did anybody take a look at it yet?
I have not. It was a lot of words on a long PDF that I didn't have time to go through.
Holy balls, Siege 2 is ridiculous. Not gonna lie. Hold on. Oh my god, I wish I'd pulled it up. I wasn't even thinking about it. Siege 2 has Fury.
What?
Yes, he has
not the spell, but the actual magic.
No, like he has the spell Fury.
Okay.
Like that isn't. It's really, really insane. Like he's got some pretty cool stuff. Like there's some. Just glossing over it, there's some good quality of life upgrades for all the troops. Like they're not like remarkably better than they were, even though trencher models were sort of like shit to begin with. But the theme, as it were, it just makes them slightly better so that they're on par, and then Siege makes them kind of nuts. So it'll be interesting to see how things change. And again, I'm glossing over it a lot, but if you haven't checked out the new CID rules for the new trencher theme and all those Signar models, go do that. And then while you're doing that, cross your fingers that the War Wagon made it out of the fucking CID the way that it is right now, and then go buy another one.
That's how I'm playing it right now. That's for sure. I'm still ticked off that Signar gets a troll player or a troll model that we don't.
Which one? What?
The Troll Express team. It's like a gunning team.
They're probably Gunny's guys. Maybe they'll work for both of them by the end of the CID.
I'm hoping, but the model looks like it has, because they posted some of the images today, and I'm looking at the here. How's that for professionalism in podcasting?
Yes. Wow, that looks way cool.
It does, doesn't it? It does. I want this one. Can we get this one?
Yeah, please.
Can we play him?
Wait, what's that? Is that like an axe gun, like Grimm's gun up there?
No, it's a gun on his shoulder pad, or a knife on his shoulder pad. This again, making for excellent podcasting. I'll post this onto the Facebook group after the podcast.
Happens to look like an axe gun, like Grimm.
Yeah, but it's a Trencher Express team is the actual name. So it looks like it comes with a spotter who's a human, and then the troll who has the huge gun.
That's cool.
Yep.
It's just like what's Bull and God, what's her name? I can't remember.
Damon Blythe.
Yeah, that was a cool unit. I haven't seen them once since Mark III. Did they change? Are they good anymore?
I don't know.
Based on the amount of times we see them, probably not.
Never. I mean, I saw them a fair amount in Minion and Merciless back in the day. But
we used to see Bullhowers as well. So
this is true. Oh God, how far that unit has fallen. Sad face.
That's right. I'm getting us off topic. So I think.
All right.
I think we probably can move into the next section.
All right. So, Fraser, I'm assuming this next game we wanted to talk about were a home machine game, Calandra versus Haley 2.
No, this is actually these were my Battle for Breath games. So because there wasn't a huge amount of people there, I got to play. And thankfully, John Henry Jr., who actually came in 4th of the Masters of the Sioux with Trolls, had extra trolls, so he put together a Calandra list for me, which I got to play. Now, I didn't buy any cheats, so I was playing a standard list, and I got to play pretty much the exact same Haley 2 back-to-back. I think the only thing that was different is one of them had a Whirlwind and one of them had the other Jack, or the other Colossal. So it was, I lost both games, which is fine because I was there just having fun. But the second game I would have won if my opponent hadn't made his jacks a little bit better by buying cheats as part of the food machine rules. But it was I'd forgotten how much of a pain Haley is. But Calandra definitely puts people on edge, like on tilt with that with the star crossed up. It just annoys them beyond belief. So that's one of the reasons I'm happy that Calandra's on the ADR. Is just I'm hoping we'll see more of her because I think she's the toolbox. So, but I hadn't played Haley 2 since Mark II, so it was I'd dodged that bullet for a number of games and then got her back to back, which I had to kind of laugh at. But it was fun. It was not a serious game, but I got I think there was an Earthborn, a Mauler, I forget what else was in the list. Oh, some champs. There was the champs are fun with her as well. So it was fun time. So it was just a couple quick games. Actually, they weren't quick. My games always are grindy, but it was. I lost on Assassination one and then Scenario on the other.
Very nice, very nice. I had one casual game last week. Medric 1 versus oh God, what the hell is the name of the Circle Battlebox caster?
Circle McCircuson?
I guess so. Anyway, against that, controlling a Storm Raptor. I played a Madrak 1 list with a War Wagon, full unit of Long Riders with Horthul, no Stone, Dunia Knot, and a few more accoutrements. Beast loadout was Mulg and something else. No, it was Dozer and Smig and a Blitzer. Actually, now that I think about it, just because I was going for a everything shoots twice theme, in addition to the Long Riders being fast and coming up the flank. My War Wagon tied up the Storm Raptor for 3 turns because he just couldn't kill it for whatever reason. I kept just barely not dying, and he couldn't commit a lot of fury to it because the War Wagon charged early on, and then I took out basically all of his support staff in the back line with the spray and the pounder. And so I was just like, well, you better not spend a whole lot of fury or this thing's not going to do much. So he had to play very conservatively on fury, which I think was probably a mistake on his part because it just left the War Wagon in place for too long. I tied up his 20 points with my, or his 40, 30 whatever points with my 20 points, and it just ended up, being in my favor. So I ended up winning on that one. Pretty fun. We're getting a few more games in the normal lately, so that's always good. More back to your Kalandra game.
Yes.
I wonder, so how much of your game was spent just casting Starcrossed and not using Befuddle or Force Blow?
Actually, that was probably the highlight of the game for me. Is on Haley's feet turn, I was able to because he sent in a Hammersmith, the 2 big hammerjack. Yeah. And he was within befuddle range. So basically, I befuddled the Hammersmith to right beside my Mauler, who gave up his movement to do action and basically took it out. So it was a fairly, I was quite happy with that placement and that move. So I was. It's
kind of funny, like the fluff around that, how befuddle's supposed to be like she's messing with the mind. She's so powerful, she can mess with the Cortex on a Warjack.
Yep.
Turn it around and back it up.
You don't mess with Kalandra, I tell you. She'll mess with you. But no, that was probably the highlight of the game for me. As he lost the Stormclad and the Hammersmith relatively easier than I thought than he should have, based on me being able to do some shenanigans with Kalandra. The reason I lost on Assassination is I forgot to move Bullet Dodger over to her. No, I put Bullet Dodger, but I wasn't able to. He kept hitting because he was just out of the. I think he was just out of. Was he just out of the range? Yeah, because he still had Thorn. I wasn't able to take out Thorn. I took out Thorn in the first game fairly quickly, but he wasn't able to take out Thorn in the second game, and he was just arcing stuff through her. So Haley was out of the Starcross range with Thorn being there.
Don't forget that the Arc Node's the point of origin for things.
Actually, we asked Tim on that, and because she was out of range of Starcross, the point of according to Tim, it was a case of the Arc Node. It because the Arc Node was in Starcross and she wasn't. It wasn't affected
because she's making the attack, not
yes.
the Arc.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, we clarified that.
Very, very interesting. James, you got a recent game you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've been trying Gristle 1 again because I'm a sucker for punishment, and I don't know, like the question always seems to be, is Boundless Charge worth not having a feat? And often it feels like it is. Like I literally watched a Mauler with Boundless Charge, just one round of Hydra, and I was like, that's not supposed to happen. It's strange. Like it's a really, really good spell, and it solves a lot of the problems that we have. So yeah, I played it into Scorn, obviously, and she's really good. She's really, really good. But I ended up getting assassinated because it was a player game against like a newer player, and obviously you try and keep them engaged and
yeah, rather than stomping their faces.
Yeah, exactly. Like no one wants that guy in the meta who just goes, you're a new player. That's an easy win. So you just try and you keep it interesting and without patronizing them, basically. And it was a good game.
I generally, especially with new players, I try not to kill their gargantuan in one round to keep them engaged. I don't know if that's something you prescribe to.
What's a new player doing with a gargantuan or a colossal to begin with, anyways?
They are very enthusiastic. That's
true.
what they're doing with the gargantuan in the list. It's just like my last opponent with the Magic one list. Like he had his Storm Raptor. He's really, really super into the game. It's all painted and everything. Like I didn't kill it for 3 rounds.
I think Dallas has said that in the past, where he always he does the first 2 turns he'll play seriously to sort of test out some tech or just to make sure he's on the ball, and then just let the last couple turns play a little more loosey-goosey. That gives his opponent a chance to counter and get back into the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. To me as well, it's like, I charged it. I didn't expect to kill it. You don't expect to kill it with 1 heavy. I mean, this is an expensive model. But I think a lot of it is just going, well, I'm going to charge your stuff, and you're going to get to charge my stuff next turn. And even if it's just you want to roll dice. Like, there's nothing worse than just like controlling them out of the game. Like, you've all probably had your first ever game against Haley 2, where you lost the game and probably didn't make an attack roll. And it's just avoiding that.
Yes, indeed. Oh man, yeah, it's kind of a tender point. With new players, at the very least, though, I still always prescribe to the everybody wins their first game.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta.
This wasn't a new player. Can I clarify that? This is someone who's been playing for a few months.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's still pretty new. I mean,
yeah.
When you started, did you not get your teeth kicked in for like the first 3 months that you played this game?
I was super lucky. I actually started with a bunch of friends. So literally, I started with 6 other people that were all starting at the same time.
So relatively even.
Yeah, exactly. Like we all came over from the game that won't be named at the same time.
Yep.
And so it was interesting because a lot of people go into meta and then get their teeth kicked in, but we had like a solid 9 months where we didn't really play anyone else. And then we went to local tournaments and got our teeth kicked in, but it wasn't quite as bad. Like, we were already at the stage where we were picking it up and learning it by that stage.
Makes sense. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. And I'm going to go ahead and lead this off because you're the one who lives in the UK. Let's talk about, I mean, you've obviously been to tournaments, you read a blog. Let's get your overall impression about where trolls fall in the meta over in the UK.
Before I went to my last tournament, I'd have been pretty down on the whole situation. Like, I didn't think we could. I basically thought that we played the rest of the game and then you just ignored Signar and just hoped you didn't meet them because they'd all have won their game, so you would be facing them anyway. I don't. It sounds terrible to say. I actually think that we're in a great place at the moment, like a really, really strong place. Signar players are playing heavy metal, which I think the list you described. I can't imagine another reason they'd have had a Hammersmith on the table, Fraser. So that's definitely the Haley 2, the heavy metal list that I've been playing against. Anytime that Signar want to stick a bunch of jacks on the table, I think that's a really positive thing for trolls. I'm like, I'll play heavy trading with you all day because I've been doing this a long time and you probably haven't been doing it quite as long. So I'll play that game absolutely. And yeah, I think we're good into that. I think we're good into Fianna 2, which a lot of people seem to be really scared about. Like, my Doomy free list, I've played against good players of it and they go, yeah, you can count on my feet. I don't really know what to do. So I feel good in that matchup. Everyone in the UK is terrified of Ghost Fleet at the moment, especially the Cador players. I reckon we can play into Ghost Fleet, especially my Gristle 2 list. I think, if you want to tech freak specifically, you go Gumbjorn and you do your ranged RFP thing, although they're probably just going to drop whatever the second list is.
Agreed.
Yeah. Even then, you're not in a bad space. Gumbjorn handles cricks pretty well, honestly.
Yeah. And he handles a lot of stuff. I really like the Paradunia list that Jason Flenser came up with, the one with the Earthborn and the Mountain King.
But for into Ghost Fleet or just into cricks in general?
I don't know Ghost Fleet. If I'm reading King into Ghost Fleet, but
Because I know that a lot of thoughts are that because the remove from play is the key piece, and having Band of Heroes gives you that better.
You try these things like.
Internet.
I think it should be
Bugs.
Actually,
Just 1 second. We're gonna have to cut this together anyway, so we want to make it easier on our editor.
absolutely.
I think I'm back.
Well, he just told us to keep going, but I kind of want him to talk with us.
Yeah, I can hear you, Fraser.
Okay, so there we go. Yeah, I just did a little hiccup on the system there, so I'm back.
Welcome.
I can't tell if the Twitch. There we go. Twitch stream's back up and going.
There we go.
All right, go ahead and continue your thought there, James.
Yeah, I don't know what other than Kado, and like it's really like the top Kado players that you need to worry about. Running stuff like Strakov 2 or Vlad 1. I don't really know what else you want to see. You don't want to see, sorry. And if you tell me that, I've got a dodge 1 faction, even a common faction, if you say I've got a dodge 1 faction and otherwise I'm pretty good into all the meta, I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll take that any day of the week.
You know what's funny is that I've gone from wanting to dodge one faction that I had a problem with in the past, which was Krix, to wanting to, generally speaking, playing into a faction that I'm really familiar with playing into, because it was really not. It was like a fucking no-brainer in Khador. We used to have no problem with Khador at all. Like, Trolls just answered that pretty easily, and it's kind of an interesting meta shift, to say the least.
Absolutely.
And it's good they're having their time in the sun as well. Like, with Khador, it's great that, other factions are on top, but Krix are like looming again.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but Krix was always, like, even when you knew the matchups and stuff, Krix was always horrible in Mark 2. And it's never felt like that uphill battle like it did since Mark 3 started.
And it's kind of funny too. Back at the end of Mark 2, I finally cracked the code, right? I finally figured out what played into Krix well, and that was Madrak 1. Madrak 1 used to just give Krix the fucking middle finger and just be like, all right, you ready for this? I'm going to come kill you. You can't stop me. I have great spells. You can't assassinate me. I've got spelled. Madrak 1, I don't know how Krix did so well with Madrak 1 in the meta. Like, he counters them in so many ways. And when you had such a potent tool as Mulg, including himself, with a feat like that, when I qualified for Masters for Lock and Load 2 years ago, like, I did it off the back of Madrak 1. Like, my opponents completely underestimated my feat, and 3 of my big victories were just like, I'm just gonna fucking surf to your caster, and Mulg's going to kill you. And then, even in the worst of matchups, like, I played Madrak 1, who's maybe a 50-50 into old Bradigus, the way that it used to be. And I still made those games, a try. Like, the one time that I lost against Bradigus with that list, it was the guy knew he couldn't kill me unless he went for the assassination with Bradigus, and he killed me to the point with his last attack. And I'd already mapped it out. Like, he was going to fail by at least a few points. So it's pretty interesting to see, like, how far Krix has fallen. But I feel like after being a faction that lived so long under nearly no scrutiny outside of one war, like 2 models in the faction that were blatantly overpowered, it's kind of good that they had the eye shown upon them, to rebalance what they were and make them the non-dominant faction anymore.
I think they're going to come back to being a problem for us as well with the new Bane Knights theme. I think the one thing Trolls do not want to see, lots of weapon masters. and I think we hate it more than pretty much any faction in the game. So that's going to be a problem, I think. But I mean, they're not going to have vengeance. We're going to be able to use stuff like deafen on them, control. But you know, maybe we're going to return to the days of scary cricks.
I mean, maybe. We have a lot of spell denial now that we didn't have before as well, and we're not as affected by their debuffs. And tough is still a problem for them as a faction.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
It'll be interesting. I don't think that they're going to be quite as the big boogeyman as they were before. I feel like Signar sort of fills that role for us right now. Like Signar is difficult to deal with overall, and I just don't see Crix coming to that spot. To be brutally honest, I see Circle filling that role a lot more than Crix would in this particular meta. So, but we shall see. And also, I mean, I'm coming at it from a different perspective. Now, I'm actually kind of curious. Over there, how big is Horde's representation? Because I know there's a little bit of a downturn in Horde's representation. Who would you say is like, you know, top dog among Hordes, and what do you see the most of?
At the moment, it's Legion and Circle. Like the Fianna 2 pairing is doing really well for Legion, and Circle. Obviously, you've got Wormwood and pick your poison. Probably Bulldog too. Like, I think they're the two Hordes pairings that you're seeing a lot. I don't know. It's weird. Like, you still see, like, troll players are very committed. Like, even when we're not doing very great, and when we probably should be, you know, showing a lot less, you always get troll people that are always just so into the faction that they'll only play trolls.
That's true. I mean, I'm kind of the same way. I don't faction hop. I only ever picked up a second one before, but trolls are sort of singularly one of the factions that, like, they draw the really die-hard, you know, players who only want to play trolls. And I don't know if that's because they can get a varied enough experience to want to stay, or if they really just like axe to face. I don't know. Like,
little from column
whichever
A,
it
from
is.
column B.
Exactly. Whichever it is, I think it's a good thing. Like, I think it really lends. I think that it really lends to the way that the faction plays out. So,
And then to your point, most of the local troll players here, we only have one faction. I mean, they play other games, but trolls is the only thing they do. So you're right. I think the typical troll player is fairly
because they're so fucking expensive. That's why.
They're the best looking models. That's what it is.
This is also true. You pay more for each expensive, very pretty looking troll model.
I have not seen a bad troll model released in the last 2-3 years.
There were very few bad troll models to begin with. Going even back from the creation of the game, like, even old school Kreil Warriors, as static as they were, still looked great.
Oh yeah,
the details really, really good.
My
I
only
mean, each one of those guys still has a fucking ham and a keg and a shield and a, you know, all sorts of shit hanging off of them. So
just the scattergunners, the original scattergunners' fingers still annoy me. The fact they look so tiny and just like pointy.
Well, I mean, they were small. Like, those models to scale were just not big. And then now you have models like Warders who are just, they're fucking gigantic.
Well, putting like things like the Highwaymen beside any of the metal models, it's like they dwarf
you know,
them.
Head and shoulders above the rest of them. Yeah.
So we are running close to our completion. So I'm going to skip out of the current agenda or current main topic list, and I'm going to go right to the bottom. So. One of the things, James, that I really appreciated from the blog, and I've been reading it for the last little while, so I've really been quite enjoying it, is you had taken on the Sea King, where a lot of people, including us, were sort of poo-pooing it, primarily because of its point cost. But you had come up with a couple lists and some thoughts on that. So I don't know if you have your list handy, or just what your original thoughts on if you were to put the Sea King on the table, what would you do with it?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not saying the Sea King's good. So if anyone goes out and buys a Sea King straight away and then they find out that it's not good, I don't want to get receipt in the post. So let's just clarify that. I'm saying that, and I always feel that we're very bad as players at judging how good a model is, especially when it does something completely different from what we've seen in the past.
And you have to understand that the seeking is very different from what we've seen. Like adding an offensive spell to every single caster's card when you take him. Like the Animus is an offensive spell, and it's, like you're adding something there. You're looking at the longest threat range in the entire faction, longer than Earthborn, near difficult terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also looking at the support elements, and it's got huge support elements in the fact that you can up the defense of Earthborns, and you've got potential lists where it's 1420 or 1422 even. And so you look at all that and you go, actually, that's interesting. Like, let's proxy it. Let's have a look at what we're doing. And so I think everything I do basically revolves around the Seeking and the Earthborn and just seeing, what's worthwhile. So I've looked at Calandra lists. I think Gumbjorn is another option. And I think maybe Doomy 2, just because you've got that extreme threat range. And you can basically just, ruffle stomp your local new player in the meta and say, I'm going to kill you from 20 inches away. Lol. Yeah, so I mean, let's look at. I've got probably a sample list just in front of me here. There's this vogue thing where everyone talks about not running stones. Like, there's been a big backlash against stones, and everyone's like, "Oh, I want to try and run this Beastbrook about stones, about the stone." And you're like, "I'm not sure it's worthwhile." But if you're going to do that, what about if you took Calandra, Seeking, 3 Earthborns, because I like spamming, obvious things, a Mauler, and then it's in Paradoon, you get 4 free solos, you get 2 Shamans, Janissa, and a Whelps. And you're like, yeah, they're only armor 18, the Earthborns, but they are all 14, 18, if you got the water out.
And there's still 32 boxes, which is higher than most.
And under Starcross, I think we said the shift in Starcross is usually 2 defense or just under 2 defense. So under Starcross, they're almost 16, 18.
Yeah, and so you're boosting every attack roll, and you're still missing boosted 10s on most jacks.
Yep.
Starcross 10s are not something you want to go into a fight going, yeah, I want to make lots of, Starcross 10s this game. Well, that's terrifying.
And you've also got a strength 12 Earthborn that's just like, well, if I absolutely have to, I could just pick this fucking jack up and throw it away from me.
Yeah. Or you put rage on it, so it's strength 15.
Yeah, and then it just throws a fucking jack 7.5 inches away. It seems pretty good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it just seems interesting. Like, would I put it on the table right now? Probably not. But, at least I think these things are worth trying, because we're all too quick to write things off the table and say that's rubbish, that's terrible. Why would I ever take that? What is it a Mountain King at an extra 6 points? And it's like, maybe it is.
Man, they have to value that 4-inch reach pretty heavy right there, is what I think about that.
And it hits harder than anything else in Trolls.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some annoying things. I don't like that it's got 4-inch reach on one quarter arc, and then the 2-inch reach on the other quarter arc.
Yeah.
Well, that's annoying. Don't want to play with that.
True.
I mean, it is what it is. What will be interesting to see is actually, and this was a thought I had probably about a week and a half ago. I'm like, will this model make it to the end of the year at its current point cost?
No. I'm calling it out right now. No, there's no chance, because that's the biggest complaint from everybody is it's not worth 42 points. And if people aren't saying it's not worth 42 points, they're probably not even testing it yet to see what it is. I wonder if it'll go into CID.
Well, buying the $130 model,
130, it's like 150 Canadian. It's ridiculous.
Really? Jesus Christ, that's terrible. There's one at my LGS, and I'm like, I'm not paying retail for that fucking model.
No, I've seen it in person, and it's a gorgeous kit. Like it is actually an amazing kit. It's just I'm actually hopefully to be proxying it this week, tomorrow at our local game store. That either that or a double war wagon list. I'm not sure which, but I have a Mountain King, and then my daughter has this little toy tugboat that's hollow in the middle where the smokestack is, which will fit perfectly on top of the mountains for the Mountain King. So
Nice.
Amazing.
So I have a authentic looking proxy. Now, granted, the boat's like a bright blue or bright green, but still, it'll work.
I don't know, James. What do you think? Do you think they're gonna let it sit like this until the end of the year, or do you think they're gonna change it?
I think they're going to change it. I actually think there's kind of I think this is one of the problems with having regular updates. There's kind of a bit of a standoff going on at the moment where troll players know that if they don't really buy it, there's a chance that they'll look at it because they want to sell the model. So the problem we've got is even if it's worth 42 points, we can't invest in a 42-point model because we're paying for all the other support, paying for a stone. You know what I mean? Like when your list is already 51 points down for just taking your support and one model, it's too expensive. And that's even if it gets 42 points of work done. Like it still dies like a Mountain King.
Yep,
it's
agreed.
still.
Well, it's the same argument against the Mountain King to begin with. Like Mark II, like you had to spend a lot of points to make it do what it needed to do to begin with, and the same is to be said about this model here. So,
Yeah, it's a good. Well, it might even be worth 42 points, but we can't afford a 42-point model. Like if someone gave you a model that was worth 75 points and said, take this model, you'd be like, well, I can't. Even if it does all these wonderful, amazing things, people will play around whatever tricks you've got, and you'll be left with not enough points on the table. So maybe they'll even consider stripping some of the abilities off it and then dropping the points on it.
What on it? I mean, I'm just for the sake of asking, what on this model makes it 6 points more than a Mountain King?
I think an Animus. Is it the Animus or the gun that works like a Hellmouth? Like
the Animus.
The Animus, yeah.
Yeah. Like control effects are huge. Like a control effect that not only casts on that. I mean, we have doing free means that you can cast the Animus for free, for instance, and it's a threat extender, so you can charge. You could, for instance, charge a lion, and then use the Animus to drag a caster in from potentially into your 4-inch reach. There's some really janky long-range assassination stuff.
But it's
People say
it's a 4-inch AOE, right? So what happens is then everything in it gets pulled into the center.
Yeah.
But I mean, it only has an 8-inch range, so you have to be up there pretty close.
Yeah. I'm not saying this, but this is on the top of a ridiculously long charge.
Yeah, true.
And there's a 4-inch weapon strikes. Then, like, you could get a really, really, really long assassination threat off there, and when it gets there, it's power 21 understone.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like you could build a Doomy 2 list that assassinates from a ridiculously long distance with the extra 3 inches on the charge, with the fact that once you get there, you've got wild aggression. Like I don't know, like it. People say
like it doesn't. That doesn't feel like a tangible 6 points to me.
Yeah.
Like when so I think that maybe this is because we set the standard so high. Like, look at the Mountain King. The Mountain King for its point cost is probably the best Gargantuan out, period. I don't think there's a better one, to be perfectly honest.
Yep.
And so when you set that standard and you say this model is 6 points more expensive, how as a company do you quantify those points? And while, yes, I agree with you, control elements are very highly valued, but Privateer in the past, and even still, has highly, highly valued things like sprays, which the Mountain King can do fucking 2.
Yeah.
And that is not to be taken out of hand. So I don't know, maybe I'm short-sighted. Maybe I do need to proxy it and see where it's at, but I cannot wrap my brain around 6 extra points for the model that they've given us.
Yeah, I'll agree that. But there's also the dark horse factor as well. The first time you put it on the table, your opponent, and even good opponents, aren't going to know what it does. Like this, we discussed the Storm Troll before we came on air, and I still play against very, very good players who, because they don't experience trolls very much, we are the dark horse faction at the moment. Like out of all the main factions, you play trolls probably less than any other faction if you're a top player. They don't know what the Storm Troll does. Like the amount of people that go in on a Storm Troll and then get pushed away from it, and they're like, "I've just given you a heavy for nothing."
Yep.
Like they people don't know what happens, and even good players don't know all your abilities on all your cards, and they just think, "Oh, it's this," or they get Mark II syndrome. And I'm not saying that the Seeking's good, but I'm saying that there's at least potential there. It's not like it's just a worse Mountain King. Like I look at the Glacier King, and I sit there and I say, I'm not sure I can, justify ever taking that 12-inch gun with push. Like,
That's interesting, actually. I mean, from a straight up like player philosophy type of situation, when we were just talking about control elements, where the Glacier King has a very strong control element.
yeah,
And in like I would say almost 90% of situations where the gun controls the things that can kill a Glacier King.
Yep.
Where I can easily justify that to myself, especially in lists where I might even want to take two gargantuans. So that's interesting.
I get that. I just think because you're not taking rage, you're not going to attrition well with whatever list you've got. So to me, it's like it's going to be an assassination list, and you don't want to push your target out of assassination range. That's the main issue I have with it.
Isn't it a May ability? I thought you didn't have to do that.
No, I think
it's
if it was
mandatory.
May, I'd be. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that a couple
Yeah,
times.
that's dumb. I mean, I don't look at it as an assassination piece, and honestly, Strength 19 gets the job done most of the time. And if it doesn't, then you've probably already got a list that's designed to get the job done.
Yeah.
At least that's the theory in my mind.
I can see that. I think it's just that rage, because you got the support from the Mountain King, you can put rage, you can take other beasts, and you can put rage on them, send them in, blah, blah, blah. You're probably not going to have rage if you've got a Glacier King, unless you want to spend another 15 points on a Mauler. And I'd be very angry having to do that, to be honest.
I can understand the point, but I don't think that the Glacier King's without merit, even on its own, because it's sort of about your list design at that point, and then you're probably already trying to figure out how you're going to deal with what the list is specialized for. However, we're still having this conversation because the Mountain King is so much better.
Well, yeah, I don't take Maulers basically anymore. Like everyone at the start of Mark III told me that Maulers were amazing, and they were, but I don't take them
Because the Mountain King is so good.
Well, yeah, I either take Mountain Kings or I just go, I'm going to do about rage this matchup, and I'll just shoot stuff and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, so we've been running a little late at this point. Actually, this is going to clock in at just about an hour there with that little stint there where Fraser was gone. But, James, thank you for being on with us again. You can check out his blog. We'll have the link listed on the Facebook already. We'll have it on the YouTube. You can get it by PMing Fraser. Just do that instead.
Yes,
That's
please.
a great idea.
Especially during my work day. That's what I love, is answering troll questions when I'm trying to be working.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, it's been a good conversation. And on that bombshell, this has been another Scrumcast signing off.